time, bring you a Dinobot Roundtable, or I should be called the Terracon Radio, but anyway, on the Universal Monsters Possible Cinematic Universe? Yeah. Yesterday I saw this article they talk about the Mommy and remake and the Val Henson reboot, but they are mentioning there might be connected to a universe. Similar what Marvel do in their cinematic universe and DC's gonna do in their upcoming Batman vs Superman movie. But yeah, when I think about it is, are we getting a remake version of Frankenstein? Of course, Dracula's gonna appear in Val Hansen reboot. The Mummy's gotta appear, and how about the other monsters? Because you can have the Wolfman in it because he got a remake back in 2010. So you can have, see, there's the Hunchback of Notre Dame, there was the Invisible Man, there was the Creature from the Black Lagoon, there's the Bride, and other most famous monsters. Are they appearing? What is the big movie be? Is it a remake of House of Frankenstein or House of Dracula? I believe I'd like to see a remake of one of the remakes. Could be the House of Frankenstein, which makes sense because about a mad scientist bringing this Frankie, Draggy, and Wolfie, and some random henchman and a hunchback and a vampire. No, not and a vampire and scientist. But yeah. But in the whole, how about we? Or many people are like, oh, it's gonna bring the masters or whatever. The that movie with. The truth is, monster movies. The universe of monsters dates back in the early 20s. Of course, the earliest ones, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Phantom of the Opera, and Mr. Jekyll, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, are icons. Maybe somewhat icons. No one really knows what they are, but they're icons. All of them were silent. Then came motions, and you have famous monsters like Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Syria, other monsters. Even comedy movies too, but yeah, really. Then we have a dry spell, and then they remake every monster movie we got previously, including the Mummy, who is some say he's already been remake. Yes, remake in the 90s. So technically, the Brandon Fraser version is actually a remake of the 1934 Boris Karloff version. So yeah, the ones I'd like to see if they're gonna do, it's pretty much really interesting that they are actually gonna do a actual monster movie that is basically straight up monsters. But anyway, there's one things and there's others. And yeah, it's pretty much everything. But there's so much of others things, and it's pretty great and all that. But you can have a actual monster movies from the Universal era to bring, and you bring them into the here. Even non-monster, not technically Universal monsters, like say the Hulk, who is actually a Marvel character, and Hellboy, who is actually a character from Dark Arts, is very weird. But it is pretty much much yeah. Anyway, the whole monster movie cinematic universe is a pretty good idea, but it is not what we have, and it's so powerful and thing. And yeah, we have been dealing with everything and all that. It is what it is meant to be. A good, powerful monster movies with enemy to see and to her. And yeah, pretty much that is what the monster movies meant to be. It's a real information. The monster movies are the front runners. These guys are way better than today's slasher movies and other nonsense of what horror movies are. Every time I see a modern day horror film, not technically I never watched them. Every time I see them on a commercial or read of them, I automatically thinking, ah ha ha ha, very funny. These guys are way better than the paranormal movies, but and the other nonsense movies. Bet that they're pretty great and all that, but anyway, for instance, the intimidations of pop. These, yeah, I think if we have remake every single movie in existence, we are wondering. They talk about a Bride of Frankenstein remake. If they are gonna do one, actually gonna legitimately do it. Who's gonna play the Frankenstein's monster? The one answer I could think of is Hugo Weaving. That'd be obviously. And who's gonna play Dr. Fincher? I'd like to see Mark Ruffalo take on that role. Some of you people are like, Red Skull? Frankenstein's monster's a villain? Red Skull? And the Hulk is coming? Yeah, that is kind of far-fetched. Some of you people, but again, and of course, every monster movie has Anthony Hopkins. It's appeared as a trick. He did appear in another remade Dracula. He might appear in Frankenstein remake, and he appears in the recent Wolfman remake. I wonder he's gonna appear in the Mummy remake, and that'd be pretty bizarre. And anyway, but these movies are pretty great, and powerful, and yeah, there are. But anyway, some of the movies I did not see in its original state. I haven't seen The Wolfman. I didn't see Dracula. And I haven't seen others. I have seen a little bit of The Invisible Man, and I have seen Frankenstein. I have seen The Bride of. I have seen Creature from the Black Lagoon. And I even seen the original Phantom of the Opera. Okay, you may know this, but I like the idea of a cinematic universe monster movie, Universal monster movie, but it is the closest thing to Universal to a comic book era type thing. But these guys predated the comic book eras way before, and yeah, it is pretty great and powerful. But anyway, there are secrets that even everyone else who may not know. Monster movies is not everyone's cup of tea, especially in front of the kids, and they want to see these movies. truth of the matter, the originals are much better than what we had today. Today's monster movie in today's era, we have these monster movies. But anyway, this I think this is their answer to the recent idea of they reimagine Godzilla 2 in next year's movie, and they figure one of it do bring back the monster movies back to the cinemas again to bring it as a what it was back in the 30s through the early 40s. And I think that might be the beginning of a new age of the monster movies in general. For years, the horror films were just stuck with slashers and other nonsense monsters. It's about time to bring back Dracula and Frankenstein and all them. Those monster movies needs to come back. You know, today's society, werewolves look like gigantic dogs and vampires are flashing around. Frankenstein monsters and even the creature from the Black Lagoon did not change. And then Frankenstein did change a lot. And the creature never appeared in a modern day film. If he did appear in a modern day film, he might be CGI'd or motion cap or whatever. Mainly because we had instead of looking at it like that kind of sound. But anyway, they're gonna be like it is pretty much. But yeah, there's other things that I want to know about these monster movies in general. Like they're never telling us. Like it's something to do with science too, but it's also about mythological. Simple. This guy is from the ancient universe. Well, Frankenstein is created made out of dead human parts, and his bride, same thing. Dracula is a vampire. He drinks blood. The Avenger Man used a vegetable potion. The Phantom of the Opera has a discolored face. Jekyll Hyde has a potion to turn him into a psychopathic killer. Wolfman is a werewolf, obviously. And it is pretty much why these movies are stunningly very powerful than what today's bystanders are. And yeah, there is another reason why Universal is doing that, because they've been out of the blue for years since 2008, and everybody thought, where's Universal? And most of the films you see were Panama, Warner Bros., Disney, Syria, and they were not there. And everybody, whatever happened to Universal? They came back. They came back with vengeance. And then, yep, they came back last year. And they released that terrible Battleship movie. But they bounced it back. And, yeah. The notions of the monster movies are they want to bring back the monster feel to the monster movies. And I know they did release Wolfman in 2010, but the remake version. But anyway, they might, if they do it more, we can see the mommy in its kind of original state. You feel like, oh, every time they think of the mommy, they think of the Bearing Stranger movie. And that, they didn't see the 1932 version, which is kind of sad, really. That movie has Boris Karloff as the mommy. And some of you people may not know this, but yeah. And yeah. And no, today we see giant monster movies again with Pacific Rim, which I haven't seen that movie, and I may not plan to do it because I don't want to see robot mech suits attacking monsters. But anyway, it is very powerful in seeing that the monster movies are powerful and terrible. But then again, they are pretty much. Anyway, it is pretty much them. And it is powerful to have these movies, but then there is other things. But these movies are pretty much your standalone, legit monster movies. Well, them, Frankenstein will be Frankenstein and Dracula will be just books that are waiting to get reimagined and all that. Woman and all the other monster movies will be just stuck in. But at least they still work. Now, the interesting part about the monster movies in general, just plain old monster movies. Some of them have, back in the 50s, they had the weirdest ideas. Like a giant woman. That's kind of weird. Universal has a movie where a man turns himself to a monkey, to an ape. Yeah, that sounds even creepier. Other monster movies are some of them have creepy monster movies. If you don't know, the Blob is one of the most obvious reasons. It's the Blob. And no, I'm not referring to the X-Men villain. And there's the Thing. I'm not referring to the Fantastic Four hero. I'm referring to that weird thing. And there's the Fly, who is not Universal. Makes for somebody else, but yeah. Those monster movies are pretty much there. Again, I know that Diamond Select are releasing 2 other versions, which is 2 different monsters. An alien and a mole man? Not confused with the Benton 4 villain. Which is kind of odd. With it is pretty much weird and spiritually that all monster movies are pretty much there. Again, Universal did good job back in the early years of film with these downright monster films. Without them, they are pretty much powerful and so. That's what's the problem with the monster movies. They're just fair. Their infringements and puns is so unique and monster movies in general are pretty much the theme. And yeah, hold on just a second. Sorry about that. It's a little bit thing. What was that? Yeah, the Universal monsters are pretty much pretty great and all that, and it is so powerful and all that. And yeah, it is pretty cool and pretty much amazing. Yeah, these movies really changed the face of time. They're really much there. But anyway, the movies are great and spiritual. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's so great. But anyway, these movies are pretty much there. But yeah, the greatest part about them, the actors. You know, some of them are long dead and gone. Some of them are still alive, but I think they're still alive. I'm not sure. If they are, they might be old people. But these movies really changed the film industry and established the horror genre as known as today. Without them, there will be no horror movies in general. This is the reason why all the movies got remade and put in a cinematic universe to make more sense. Now, with them having a monster universe, it matched perfectly with Marvel and DC's comic universes because those characters do coexist and they can do it. With a movie about monsters, that can also coexist as well. So with Disney with their movies, Warner Brothers with theirs, and now Universal with theirs. The big question is, 20th Century Fox have their version of a Marvel Cinematic Universe too, but they're a little bit more weird. Only two. Oh wait. Oh, hold on. There. Sorry. You cannot hear that. But anyway, these movies are pretty much there. But anyway, these movies are pretty much the greatest part about them. Yep, the and the only ones that I think Paramount will be the only ones there, unless they're gonna do a Transformers G.I. Joe cinematic universe. I think that could work. That's my opinion. I think that could work. Hold on, just a second. Oh yeah. Yes, the Universal monsters are pretty much there. But anyway, these movies are pretty much the Pentecostal of horror genre in a whole. Without them, then again, I just said again about this. But yeah, a cinematic universe for them might work. Now, since these guys are thinking about remaking them, there's the creative works of Arksy and Cuzzer Man. which is actually a good idea to have them. For the fact they did robots in space and currently Spider-Man, but for a sequel, yeah, they'll pretty much be the Pentecostals Earths of remaking these particular films. Yeah, you can have a pretty much a modern day take of Dracula and a modern day take of Frankenstein. You can have a modern day take of the creature from the Black Lagoon who needs to have it. He needs to be CGI or motion cap. That'd be really cool, but yeah, pretty much. So, as as a whole, I know it's taken its toll so long. What do you guys think about a small cinematic universe? If you like it or you don't like it, you can think about it or not think about it. Is pretty much it. So yeah, this is pretty much wrap this up. These monster movie madness of terror and horror and all the other creepy stuff. Yeah. So yeah, and also look out for more of the Horror House of Horrors, which is pretty much the pretty much all the remaining. Sorry to not showing you the review remix on last Thursday. I haven't had the time to do it. I almost did, but somehow I accidentally had some problems, so it did not. But yeah. Anyway, this is Spyrus Prime saying a 2 10 and also catch up talking about Roundtable and all the other stuff. Anyway, meanwhile, I'm gonna fix up the remaining Horror House of Horrors and release you people them. But anyway, this is a nice redemption. Anyway, till all RR10.